Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Jack. Back again to redo the Holy Priest Mage Tower video, because it needed it, alright? We're gonna go over it. It took me like 6 or 7 hours today to be able to put it together, and it was super fucking annoying. So, I wanted to compile and revamp the guide that I made previously, and I'll also make changes to the written guide and all that other good stuff, and I'll have extra notes in Discord if you want to check that out. But I wanted to revamp it and set the record straight. On the left side of your screen, I ended up taking Angel's Mercy, which we never take, but it's fantastic for this, and I ended up taking Censure. Censure was something I kind of swore off when I was originally doing it, because I was like, no, I want Fear every pack every single time. But if you have the discipline to hold off on some of the Fear Bombs and have more effective ones, then being able to have that stun with Censure is extremely helpful. So let's get into it, okay? First and foremost, you're going to have just the Arbalist to start you off, okay? There's nothing really crazy that you have to do. They have the Deadeye shot. Make sure the Mana Sting line is going to hit somebody like Jared and his dummy thick cheeks. Add damage, all that stuff. The thing to keep in mind is once you complete these waves, you want to have your Holy Words on hand, okay? Second wave comes up. We got Mage, we got Arbalist. For this one, you cannot allow the Mage to actually get casts off with the buff. You either Fear Bomb, in this case you do on this wave, you're going to drop the Fear Bomb during the Mage cast. You let one Mage cast go through, he has no stacks. The second cast is about to happen, he has one stack. You Fear Bomb, so it's going to hit the Arbalist. Arbalist goes running, and then you are set to be able to keep on fighting that Risen Mage, okay? Keep in mind, a cast can go off, but you cannot have any stacks of that Risen Mage, or you straight up just like fall behind, okay? After that, keep on blasting, and make sure that you save your stun, okay? You need your stun for the next wave that comes up, and it's okay to take your time, right? It's okay to take your time and everything like that. And keep in mind, you need to dispel the Mage buff before the cast completes. If the cast completes and the projectile is headed towards dear old Granny, she's gonna die. You need to clear that debuff before the cast completes. Keep that in mind. Otherwise, take your time finishing off the Arbalist and everything. Get your Holy Word Serenity back. Get your Chastise. Make sure it's there. Next wave. Wave number 3. We're going to have the Mage and the Soldier, okay? For the Mage, allow one cast to go off, like we mentioned once again, and then you're going to stun that Mage, okay? Mage is then stunned, and then you're going to switch targets, and you're going to Shackle Undead the Risen Soldier, but only after the Knife Dance begins. He has a cast to begin the channel, and then he begins channeling. So wait for it to complete, the channel begins, the group takes a little damage, and then the Shackle Undead activates, interrupting that channel, which will then push him into the next mechanic, which is a Fixate once the crowd control breaks. Alright? You can't mind control Undeads, don't worry about that. You then go back to your Risen Mage, continue adding damage, and just like we talked about before, you are purging those buffs from the Mage before the cast completes, right? Always, always, always. Make sure your allies are going to keep on focusing down that Mage, and then you kind of have to face tank the Soldier. The Fixate hurts a lot, and you don't have a lot of other recourse but to face tank it, okay? As this is happening, you must, again, same thing, use Shackle Undead to be able to interrupt that Risen Soldier, and then you're kind of stuck face tanking it again. You can burn Serenity. The whole point of this phase is you need to get everybody topped. You can grip Granny and get her stacked up to get into your Sanctify. I was a little bit late on my kill here, right? Then I have to face tank another one. But you want to make sure people are as high health as possible, activate Bloodlust, and have Chastise back for this point right here. You must have it back or you will fail this run, okay? Wave number 4 is Mage Double Soldier. This is the most lethal pack. I used mana pots here because I just couldn't really afford to use a damage pot, so to each their own. All right, so when we get into this, same story as before. Same thing each time. Mage cast goes off, okay? We allow that first cast to go off. Second cast begins. We Chastise stun. The Knife Dances are coming up, and we're going to Fear Bomb all those. And once again, we have to take some damage. So before you get into this wave, you need to have some effective health for your teammates to work with, okay? Get that Fear Bomb off. You then pop Apotheosis. Everybody should be stacked because you can keep gripping Granny in. Drop Sanctify onto the entire party, and keep people topped. Again, make sure you're watching target to target. My bar is down here. Once the Risen Soldier's Fear Bomb completes, that's when you're going to get that Shackle Undead off onto one of them. Doesn't matter which one, just get it off onto one of them. If you're fancy, you could probably get it off onto like the one targeting the NPCs, but just get it off onto one of them. That'll be sufficient. Keep on stunning the mage. Ideally, you can get some purge stacks and everything off on it, but that's where you stun the mage. And this is where you need to light your mana bar on fire, okay? You PI yourself, you start working to top people, and you are only using Shackle Undead to interrupt Risen Soldier knife dances. And what you saw right there is I had 2 Risen Soldiers, and I'll go back a sec as well. I had 2 Risen Soldiers that we had casting at the exact same time. And now the order in which you crowd control them also massively matters, okay? I first crowd control the one that we are actively fighting, okay? And it also happens to have a dot of mine, and that's not by coincidence. You need to crowd control that one, interrupt, and then shackle the next one, and do not attack that one that you shackled. This will cause all of your NPCs to coalesce upon the Risen Soldier that you have not CC, that is not under the effects of Shackle Undead, okay? And then they will continue to fight that one. And I start moving them away from the soldiers. There's no AoE, there's no mess, no muss, no fuss. And then we continue attacking throughout this period, okay? So it's very, very important to like start focusing on them. I didn't run any Burning Crusade triple socket garbage nonsense. I ran with raid gear with a lot of haste and some versatility. And I ran the Tough to Smoldering Plumage because I'm addicted to that trinket, okay? Right here at this point, once the last soldier's there, continue using that Shackle Undead, and that is that 3rd diminishing return that you see right there. Keep on using Shackle Undead to be able to interrupt that soldier for the blade dances, and then work to have Chastise back for round number 5, okay? So again, taking your time in here is not a bad thing, and I even pop him to more mana efficiently start healing up everybody, give him a nice healing buff to get us through it, and then I start working on Jared, because Jared can take a ton of damage, okay? Last wave, wave number 5. Again, it starts immediately, so you gotta be ready for this stuff, okay? You'll have to have the effective health to work with, because one of those ad casts chunks half the HP away from your allies, okay? Wave 5, Mage, Arbalist, and Soldier. This is really, really annoying one to deal with, because your teammates don't focus properly. So dot up the Mage immediately. You're going to make sure, again, you censure, you fear the mage this time. You just fear bomb the entire group, let an ad cast go off, and then you can stun. I did it a little bit earlier than I would have liked there, but my teammates had the effective health to deal with it. Then, make sure you CC the Risen Soldier, just like we've been doing before, once the channel begins, and really work to finish off that mage. Then, I like to make sure I have a little shell around me. I have Granny here, Jared here, and the Rogue right here, and I'm stuck in this shell of my teammates, so I don't have to look at the Arbalist and worry about what the fuck it's doing. I just know I have teammates around me, and they're gonna soak up the Mana Sting. Ideally, you'd focus down the Soldier here, but you really can't, because your teammates are stupid, and you need to use hard crowd control, aka you need to utilize Shackle Undead to stop the Soldier, so they immediately start thinking, hey, I gotta go attack the Arbalist, because this other guy's CC'd. But then they kind of change their mind sometimes. Also, I got hit by the Mana Sting, but pro tip, you can't lose mana if you don't have any to begin with. So, we survive. Overall, the Arbalist doesn't really deal a lot of damage, and if I had it my way, we would be killing the Soldier right now. But the NPCs have a mind of their own, and sometimes it's better just to flow with the river rather than fight it, right? After that, the Risen Soldier will complete beating my sweet, sweet cheeks, and so I get my Mana Hymn off. We have enough mana to be able to complete this, and I just make sure I use whatever I have left. I also got Apotheosis back at this time, so if the damage gets too much, you can also drop a Censure in there. I grip in Granny, I get the Sanctify for the party, and everybody is going to be healthy on this one, all right? Here, I get to take advantage of the Censure stun, and this is going to be the completion of Phase 1. It's super, super annoying to deal with this phase. Once you get past this, I wouldn't say it's free, but it's significantly, significantly easier to be able to get through this. There's also going to be a lengthy waiting point, because you want to wait to get your Bloodlust back, all right? So we are going to take forever and have a nice conversation with chat before we begin stage number 3. All right, stage number 3, this is very similar to what we had in the past. You have a 5-minute timer in the top right, and it's all about not rushing. If you take about a minute to clear out these eyes, you know, you can start dotting them up over time. Not a bad time to PI yourself as well. Just the dot alone isn't going to kill them. I first work to make some space in the room, and then we just continue killing them off one by one. Once again, you don't really do a lot of damage. Do not Shadow or Death these. It's not a risk you want to take. Divine Star actually does very respectable damage to these guys as well, so don't Divine Star the entire room because that could also be a little bit bad. I just take it very slow, and the whole thing takes me about a minute to be able to get through in its entirety. All right? Once you get through, Holy Nova your way up the stairs. Divine Star is also really good for killing off these Fellbat pups. And then start focusing down on that Dominator and everything like that, okay? Once you get the Dominator some damage on him and everything, it is really good to keep on killing off the pups because they do add a pretty decent chunk of damage to them. And all you're doing right now is staying in the corner and killing off those Fel Orbs. I'll also include the macro that I'm grabbing, which I really should have had earlier, which basically just allows me to focus over enemies and add them to my Vuhdo frames down at the bottom over here. And I'll make sure I add that in the description below so that you guys can do that if you're Vuhdo users. But we finish this guy off, and then we get ourselves ready for next wave, okay? This setup, not that hard. There's a Panic Soul. Focus it ahead of time. That is the first thing that you do when you enter this room, is you just dispel that guy, all right? Then I like to control V. I accidentally hit my mana pot, which is really bad. But I like to control V so I can actually see the damaged souls. So I sanctify them once, Apotheosis, sanctify them again, and then I add them to my focus frames and I spam heal them up. A little bit of a mistake there, but it shouldn't cost you too much. Then you fight an Arbalest, and this is very similar to the Arbalest that we have fought before. A lot of the same stuff. You have to go attack him. He does his Mana Sting. You can chastise him. You can shackle him. Apparently something bad happens when the damaged souls die. He will sometimes go and attack those, so I just kind of double-checked and made sure that they didn't perish, and nothing bad happened to them as well. So kill him off. And then just start moving on throughout this next area. This is, again, very similar to what we had of old, so there's nothing too different here. Go up the stairs, Holy Nova down any of these balls, get away from that ball because they should spawn soon after, and then you proceed into this next room, okay? This next room is a little bit harder than I experienced previously. It seemed like the Corruptor had a bit more HP. The flickering eyes and everything kind of moved a little bit more rapidly, but maybe I'm crazy. I did take the time, however, to move off to the side over here, and I even GS'd myself, because while you're in those little spinny rings, the spinny lines that he puts out, you do take like 50% more damage, so you don't want to have the eye detonate while you're in those rings. So if you're also too close to the eyes, you take a bunch of damage. So I made sure I cleared some space out for myself, and then I was away from those eyes, and then I killed off the Corruptor, and I made sure I was safe. Right? You just want to make sure you give yourself some space. I had 50 seconds at the end of this, so it's really not too shabby at all. You should have plenty of time to be able to deal with this. And then, we get ready for the end phase, okay? And this is actually a lot sloppier than I would have really liked. Again, this is the time where you can prepare, load up on food, your buffs, etc., 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 okay? Quick look at my setup. I switch out the Necromantic Tome because I'm not going to be attacking anything this next phase, and I roll with the Changeling. There's probably a couple different decent trinket options, but like I said before, I don't want to run with anything that's like, oh, go farm up some BC Timewalking gear. Like, that stuff sucks. That stuff fucking sucks, okay? So, we get our stuff prepared, and we enter into the last room. I also didn't wait for Bloodlust. Would not advise that either. You have to go through the RP here, and Jared and the gang are going to gang up on each other, start attacking each other, and this is where you have to multitask. I think you have to actually heal up, like, 8 damage souls is what it is. So the first wave, I just pop Divine him, set up my frames, and then I make sure I'm spamming some flash heals, right? Again, target your guys. You also want to make sure you work with Trail of Light, so you'll like flash heal one person, and then you get a new target to heal them. That helps out a lot. It also helps out a lot when you have to heal Granny and the gang to make lives easier for them. Second wave, I use Apotheosis, so I Serenity 1, and then I Apotheosis, and I Sanctify twice onto those damaged mages. And ideally, I would have done this a bit more clean. I should have dropped an extra flash heal or 2 into the mage, but I was actually too hesitant to use my Serenity on my allies, and I shouldn't have done that, okay? So that was pretty bad. So one of the mobs got through, but like we said, it's not the end of the world. Serenity one of the soldiers, start pouring some healing and everything like that into the next targets that we have there. I usually don't look at the nameplates to look at what I'm actually letting through. I just know that the right side one, if you're facing Erd's Thorn, it usually comes over the banister first. This is also a very brutal moment there where Granny almost gets straight murdered. You can also grip Granny, you can grip any of your allies to kind of give them a bit of relief. But once you heal up those 8 souls, then you must drink. Drink, 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 drink. I almost forgot and chat reminded me, so thanks to the stream for that. You drink very quickly, drink, then you have time to top off your allies, and then you have time to prepare. So if you missed any souls, If you're bad like me, then you have to fight them later, and it's the exact same thing as we saw previously in Phase 1. Thankfully, though, it's not the end of the world. I only had to deal with a mage and an arbalist. It could have been a lot worse. You could get, like, double soldier, and it's all dependent on what you don't heal. So maybe you could pay a bit of extra mind to it, but you could also just do a better job dealing with it. If we follow the same principles, we are always dispelling the mage before a cast completes, or we're fearing, or we're stunning, or anything like that. But also keep in mind, once this phase ends, that's when you start the final phase, and you have to fight Dr. Professor Airdris Thorn, Esquire II, okay? So, ideally, having some holy words on hand, not spending a bunch of mana, really helps, okay? Get into a corner, and this is where the fight really gets going. It's very, very challenging if you're very new to it, but you have to have self-control, and that is difficult. Believe me, I just had some fucking Chick-fil-A and everything today as well. It's not great. But you get a fuse debuff, it lasts about 8 seconds, and you need to drop your HP to around 30 or 40% or lower. Each of the stomps is like 10 to 12% or something like that of HP that he does on you. So you want to make sure you're probably around 25 to 30% every time one of these detonations go off, and I'll show you some of the mechanics that happen around it. The issue that really comes is when you're at like 30% HP, he stomps on you, and then you're taking dot debuffs. So you always want to make sure that you're not playing it too risky and trying to hard min-max room, because your allies are going to kill off everything pretty easily. If you just maintain your dot, if you hit some holy fires, I didn't even hit Bloodlust, as you can see, and we're doing okay. Just keep following those principles. That was the lowest I got there, was like 10% or so. Actually, I get a little bit lower later, I'll show you. But then you start completing that circuit around the room. Yes, you can step into those fell pools for the jumps. You can also chastise stun Airdris Thorn for the jumps as well. That works out really well too. There's a couple different methods that you have on hand to be able to deal with it. I also look to GS as Jared gets very low, and actually he does technically die, and I GS him just in the nick of time. This is where I'm very acutely aware of the space in the room, how it's piling up, how I have low mana, and since I have a lot of HP because of my him, I bait out the jump because I can afford to survive through that many hits that are coming out. Then I make sure everybody's within range. I even chastise heal myself a little bit, and we continue to start min-maxing that room, and that's where you can see that the mana becomes more and more of a constraint as time goes on. So once again, similar principles that we have. I know I'm going to get jumped on, and I know I'm going to take some extra damage, so I'm okay being at 40, 50% because I'll kind of take a boom, boom, 12% or something like that in hits. And in fact, I could have been even lower. So take that time when you use your Divine Hymn to further reduce your health. Keep in mind, Angel's Mercy, things like that. Your health pot is very, very strong in here. You have a lot of options on hand to be able to deal with it. But also, you got to keep in mind that once you, as a player, also this is horrifying. I can't believe I did that, where I let that last that long. But also keep in mind that if you die, it's not over. The event is only over when your NPCs die. So if you need to actually go perish, that's 100% okay. In fact, I had even more time after this. If I popped as an angel, you just don't release and you just chill. And then they'll finish it off, because the only damage after that is Airdris Thorn beating Jacob's cheeks. And that's it. So, with this guide, hope you gain a little bit better understanding of what's going on. Magicians, phase 1, you really just cannot tolerate having them go with any casts off. They cannot get casts off with any buffs. You also need to really use your teammates as a life force and a resource to be able to manage, okay? You need to be able to lean on them so that you're going to be able to bait it and say, oh, it's okay if Granny takes a hit because she has full HP and she can take it. Oh, she can't. Caroline Cranberry or whatever can't take this hit because she has other stuff going on. But, living or no, once you do complete it, once you successfully complete it and everything like that, you do get awarded with your nice fancy transmog, which me and my buddy Don't Do Drugs, aka Billy, and I got very, very close to each other. So this tower is possible, but it's extremely difficult, and it's significantly harder, significantly more highly tuned than any of the other challenges that we'd ever seen previously. That said, I don't know if I would say it was super fun for what it was, but I mean, I'm glad I got it, and hopefully this helps you guys get it too. All right. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them down in the comments down below. Check out the live stream, check out the written guide and everything, as I'll be adding some updates and everything probably tonight or tomorrow, depending on the time that this video gets posted. And yeah, thanks so much for tuning in, guys. I hope this helps. Sorry about the mishap with the earlier Holy Priest video. I hope this clears up a lot of things, makes it easier for everybody, and it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful time. All right? Thanks so much for watching. Smash that like button. Play your faces, guys. Later.